The wine glass trembles in my hand as I scroll through Instagram one more time. My sister's post stares back at me, mocking in its simplicity. Just family this year. 8 smiling faces gathered around my mother's antique dining table. The table I helped refinish last spring. My stomach lurches. The untouched food on my own dining table sends waves of vanilla and cinnamon through my half-decorated living room. 8 place settings, 8 chairs. 8 Christmas stockings hanging from my mantel, each one personally embroidered over the years. 8 years of hosting Christmas Eve dinner. 8 years of coordinating everyone's schedules, dietary restrictions, and gift preferences. 8 years of my home being the heart of our family's holiday tradition. Until tonight. I zoom in on the photo, my thumb shaking against the screen. There's my mother's signature pecan pie, one she taught me to make when I was 12, the recipe I later taught Jessica. The crystal punch bowl grandmother gave me sits center stage, filled with what can only be my cranberry wassail, even the tablecloth. My breath catches. The vintage lace tablecloth I've been searching my storage boxes for all week. Still good for Christmas Eve at your place? My text from 2 weeks ago floats in the family group chat, blue bubbles marked seen by everyone. No responses. Just those little read receipts staring back at me. I take another sip of wine, remembering the signs I chose to ignore. Mom's vague, "Oh, we'll see about the extra turkey," when I mentioned shopping. Jessica's sudden fascination with grandmother's old ornaments, the ones I carefully wrap in tissue paper each January. Andrew's odd question last Sunday. "You've been hosting forever, sis. Don't you need a break?" Dad's comment about changing things up echoes in my mind. The family chat going silent when I asked about arrival times. The pieces slot together like a puzzle I never wanted to solve. My hands move on autopilot, opening my photo gallery. 8 years of Christmas Eve scroll past. Last year, Andrew's boys sprawled on my floor, wrapping paper everywhere. Jessica announcing her promotion over dessert. Mom and Dad slow dancing by the tree after everyone else had gone to bed. The phone slips from my fingers onto the couch. My feet carry me upstairs to the attic, each step heavier than the last. The boxes labeled Christmas decor in my careful handwriting sit exactly where they always do, except they're empty. Not just the tablecloth. The vintage ornaments, the punch bowl, the special serving platters. All borrowed, none returned. My thumb hovers over Mom's contact photo. The call connects, rings once, twice, straight to voicemail. I try again, voicemail. A third time, the same artificial chirp of her automated greeting. The tears come slowly at first, then in a rush that burns my cheeks. My reflection in the attic window shows a woman I barely recognize, mascara tracking down her face. But something else catches in my throat, rises in my chest. A laugh, sharp and unexpected. 8 years of Christmas Eve dinners. 8 years of making sure everyone's favorite dishes appeared on the table. 8 years of remembering that Andrew's oldest is allergic to walnuts, that Jessica needs gluten-free options, that Dad's blood pressure means watching the salt. 8 years of being the reliable one, the responsible one, the one who makes everything perfect. I stand up straight, my reflection sharpening in the window. The Christmas lights from my half-decorated tree downstairs cast colorful shadows across my face. 8 years of carrying everyone's expectations, their comfort, their traditions. My feet move with purpose now, down the stairs to my bedroom. The suitcase under my bed slides out easily, the good one. The one I bought for a trip to Europe that I canceled when Jessica needed help planning her wedding. My phone buzzes. The family group chat explodes with messages. "Where are you?" "The turkey's overcooked." "Mom's upset." "Are you okay?" "This isn't like you, Elaine." My fingers type out a message. "Enjoy your Christmas. I've decided to enjoy mine." The delete button glows beneath my thumb. 8 years of trying to make everyone happy. 8 years of putting myself last. I open my laptop instead. The travel website loads, bright and inviting. New Orleans, one-way ticket, Christmas morning arrival. For the first time in 8 years, I choose myself. Would you have sent that text or disappeared without a word? Tell us in the comments what your first move would be after such a discovery. My suitcase lies open on the bed, a blank canvas waiting to be filled. For once, I don't reach for the beige sweater or the practical black slacks. Instead, my hands find the crimson blouse I bought 3 months ago, tag still attached, the emerald silk pants my sister called too bold. The golden scarf I never dared to wear. The Christmas tree blinks behind me, casting kaleidoscope shadows across my bedroom walls. Red, green, gold. Colors I've denied myself, always afraid of taking up too much space. My phone buzzes on the nightstand, another family message. I don't look. Instead, I fold each bright piece with precision, building a rainbow of rebellion in my luggage. No more invisible clothes for invisible Elaine. The Uber app confirms my ride. 20 minutes. Time enough to write a note if I wanted to. Time enough to call mom to smooth things over like I always do. My fingers hover over the phone, muscle memory of a lifetime of making peace. But peace at what price? I zip the suitcase with finality. The Christmas tree lights reflect in my bedroom mirror, catching my eye. The woman staring back looks different, already spine straighter, chin higher. I turn them off and take my baggage, then leave the room. I am waiting for the Uber in the kitchen. My phone stays on the kitchen counter when the Uber arrives and we head off to the airport. The airport on Christmas Eve splits people into two tribes, the frantic and the serene. Parents wrestling over stuffed bags, children crying over dropped candy canes, teenagers rolling their eyes at both. But here I am, walking against the tide of holiday chaos, calm in my crimson blouse and quiet certainty. Solo Christmas trip? The desk agent's smile holds no pity, just warm curiosity as she checks my ID. Yes, the word comes out stronger than I expect. She types, then looks up with a conspiratorial wink. Premium economy just had a cancellation. Merry Christmas. The upgrade feels like a sign. Or maybe just the first gift I've received this season that doesn't come with strings attached. An hour later, on the plane, the couple next to me settles in with the comfortable synchronization of decades together. The woman, silver hair elegantly coiffed, notices my hands clenched in my lap. First time flying alone on Christmas? She pulls a flask from her purse. Bourbon? I laugh, surprising myself. Is it that obvious? My dear, I've spent enough holidays alone to recognize the look. She pours a splash into my ginger ale. But you know what? Those turned out to be some of my favorite Christmases. I'm Catherine, this is Robert. We're headed to our favorite city. Elaine. I sip the spiked ginger ale, warmth spreading through my chest, and New Orleans is new for me. Oh, you must join us for beignet tomorrow morning. Catherine pats my hand. No one should eat alone on Christmas. Robert nods sagely. Unless they want to. That's the beauty of New Orleans, you can be alone or surrounded, and nobody judges either way. The flight attendant passes, slipping me an extra cookie with a knowing smile. Sometimes family isn't who you expect. A woman across the aisle leans over. I couldn't help overhearing. Left my toxic family 20 years ago, best gift I ever gave myself. She straightens her elegant blazer. They'll either learn to value you or they won't, but you'll learn to value yourself, and that's what matters. The bourbon loosens something in my chest. Memories float up like bubbles in champagne. Andrew's annual, you make it look so easy, sis, while watching football instead of helping. Jessica arriving empty-handed to every holiday, but leaving with carefully packed leftovers in my good Tupperware never returned. Dad praising my turkey by comparing it to Mom's before she lost her touch. The pattern's so clear now. Family calling only when they needed something. A last-minute babysitter. A forgotten anniversary rescue. A shoulder to cry on. But when was the last time anyone had asked about my life? My dreams? My needs? I just nod a bit embarrassingly, and 15 minutes later I fall asleep. The stewardess's voices and the view brought me back to reality from my sleep. The plane descends as Christmas morning dawns over New Orleans. 20 minutes later, warm air hits my face as I exit the terminal, so different from Connecticut's bitter cold. No snow here, but the air shimmers with possibility. I take a cab and arrive to the hotel half an hour later. My hotel rises from the French Quarter like a grande dame dressed in wrought iron lace. White Christmas lights drape the balconies, dancing in the morning breeze. Simple, elegant. Nothing like my own overwrought decorations back home. Merry Christmas, Miss Elaine. The desk clerk's smile reaches her eyes. You're exactly where you should be. My throat tightens at her words. She hands me a room key with a small gift-wrapped package attached. Welcome to New Orleans. We take care of our own here. The tears finally come as I unwrap a delicate silver fleur-de-lis ornament. Not the harsh sobs of last night's betrayal, but gentle drops of release. Later, I skipped the hotel's offered car service. These streets deserve to be walked, claimed at my own pace. A vendor sells bright scarves from a cart on the corner, calling out, "Good morning, Queen," as I pass. I stop, finger the crimson silk, the same color as my blouse. "This one has your name on it," he says, draping it around my shoulders. The mirror he holds up shows a woman I barely recognize. Head high, shoulders back. A queen indeed. Café du Monde appears like a mirage in front of me through the morning mist. For the first time in my adult life, I sit alone at a cafe table without pulling out my phone, without a book for cover, without apology. "What can I get you, darling?" The waitress's pen hovers over her pad. "Everything I want," I answer and mean it. My phone buzzes in my purse as I savor the last sugary bite of beignet half an hour later. 27 missed calls. A string of voicemails from Mom, their tone shifting from confusion to alarm to anger. A text from Jessica. "Where are you? The food is terrible and Dad's having a fit." Andrew's message lands like a brick. "Are you having some kind of breakdown?" They're not worried about me, I realize. They're worried about their ruined Christmas. About the tasks left undone, the roles left unfilled. About the empty space where their reliable Elaine should be, smoothing feathers and filling gaps. I pay the bill, stroll around the city a bit longer, and go back to the hotel. Later that evening, the jazz from Jackson Square floats up to my hotel balcony as evening falls. Christmas lights twinkle below, a constellation of earthbound stars. My thumb hovers over the block contact button next to the family group chat. A new message appears from grandmother. "They don't know what they've done, do they? Be well, my girl." The French Quarter glows golden in the fading light. In that moment, I understand the betrayal wasn't just about Christmas. It was about seeing my true value for the first time. The next morning, after the Christmas breakfast, I want to visit the cathedral. The bells of St. Louis Cathedral ring through the crisp morning air, their song mingling with a jazz rendition of Silent Night floating up from Jackson Square. My first Christmas morning alone stretches before me like an unwritten page. Royal Street sparkles with simple white lights strung between wrought iron balconies. No inflatable Santas, no synchronized music shows, just the quiet dignity of a city that knows its own worth. A trumpeter on the corner catches my eye and tips his hat, his horn gleaming in the early sunlight. The familiar carol transforms into something new in his hands, each note carrying the weight of generations. My feet carry me toward the cathedral doors without conscious thought. Inside, the air hangs heavy with incense and history. No one here knows I should be in Connecticut, orchestrating the perfect family breakfast. No one knows I'm the daughter who always remembers everyone's dietary restrictions, the sister who never forgets a birthday, the aunt who coordinates all the presents. Here, I'm just another soul seeking sanctuary on Christmas morning. "Welcome, child." An elderly usher presses a program into my hand, her smile warm and uncomplicated. No questions about why I'm alone, no pitying glances, just welcome. The wooden pew creaks as I sit, and for the first time in 8 years, I don't have to worry about saving seats or managing personalities or mediating tensions. The freedom of anonymity wraps around me like a blanket. "First time in New Orleans?" The whisper comes from my left, where a woman about my mother's age sits clutching a well-worn prayer book. Her silver hair catches the light from the stained glass windows. "Is it that obvious?" The words slip out before I can stop them. "Only because you're actually listening to the music instead of treating it like background noise." She extends her hand. "I'm Martha. My kids are at their in-laws this year." Elaine. The name feels different here, lighter somehow. "I'm taking a different approach to Christmas this year." Martha's knowing smile tells me she hears everything I'm not saying. "Best decision I ever made was spending Christmas in New Orleans 10 years ago. Sometimes you have to break tradition to find yourself." The service ends, but our conversation doesn't. Over coffee at Café du Monde 2 hours later, Martha's story spills out between bites of beignet. Her children's gradual drift toward their spouses' families, the subtle exclusions, the painful realization that holding on too tight only speeds the inevitable letting go. "Join us for brunch," she says, gesturing to a group of similarly untethered souls gathering at a corner table. "We're all refugees from someone else's Christmas." The waiter appears with a bottle of champagne, uncorked with a flourish. "On the house," he announces, winking. "To chosen family this Christmas." My phone buzzes in my purse again. The screen lights up with familiar names. Dad, Mom, Jessica, Andrew. The texts pile up like snow. This behavior is extremely disappointing, Elaine. Dad's message glows with righteous indignation. The kids keep asking where Aunt Elaine is. How am I supposed to explain this to them? Jessica, master of the guilt trip. You're ruining Christmas for everyone. Is this what you wanted? Mom, ever dramatic. Is this about your breakup last year? We're worried about you, sis. Andrew's concern drips with condescension. The old Elaine would have responded immediately, smoothing ruffled feathers, accepting blame, promising to make it right. Instead, I silence the phone and slip it back into my purse. Later, watching an artist capture the afternoon light in Jackson Square, Martha's question catches me off guard. How long have you been carrying them all? The truth rises to my lips before I can filter it. Since I was 12. Mom was overwhelmed, Dad was distant, and somebody had to hold everything together. The words tumble out, years of unspoken burden finding voice at last. I thought if I just worked harder, planned better, gave more, they'd finally. My voice catches. See you? Martha finishes softly. Yes. The simple admission brings undivided tears. You know what the hardest thing about setting down a heavy load is? Martha pats my hand. Realizing you never had to carry it in the first place. I'm not responsible for their happiness. The words feel foreign on my tongue, terrifying and liberating all at once. The artist looks up from his easel, brush paused mid-stroke. Hold that expression, he says. I paint people in moments of truth, and darling, you're having one right now. An hour later in my hotel room, my phone chimes with a text notification, but for once I don't reach for it. Instead, I walk into the French Quarter Culinary Institute and sign up for a 2-day cooking class. I make dinner reservations at Brennan Stable for one. No apologies. Jazz club tickets through New Year's Eve land in my email, each one a promise to myself. The call to my office takes less than 5 minutes. Family emergency. I say, which isn't exactly a lie, I need another week. For once, I don't offer elaborate explanations or backup plans. That night, scrolling through photos on my phone, I see my family's faces differently. The images that once inspired guilt now feel like documentation of a pattern I'm finally breaking free from. One by one, I delete the photos that don't bring joy, keeping only the genuine moments, Dad teaching me to drive, Mom and me baking late at night, Jessica's graduation, Andrew's kids playing in my backyard. My thumb hovers over the family group chat. The message forms slowly, each word carefully chosen. I'm safe and well. I've taken some time for myself this Christmas. I'll be in touch when I return. The responses flood in immediately, a cascade of demands and guilt and concern. With steady fingers, I press the mute button. Too tired to respond, I fall asleep. Morning brings a knock at my hotel room door. The desk clerk hands me a small package, overnight delivery. Inside, nestled in tissue paper, lies my grandmother's Christmas brooch, the one she wore to every holiday gathering for 40 years. The note beneath it, written in her firm hand, makes me catch my breath. I left my family for 3 whole months when I was your age. Best decision I ever made, they'll learn. Love, Grandma. I didn't expect this gift, but when she asked me where I was staying at that night she texted me, I should have guessed. My fingers trace the delicate silver curves of the brooch, and something shifts inside me. This isn't rebellion, it's inheritance. The strength to choose myself doesn't come from anger or defiance, but from a long line of women who finally learned to tell the truth. Love shouldn't cost you yourself. Thanks, Grandma, I say it to myself. The next day at the cooking class, the steam rose from the roux as I stirred, my wrist moving in the figure-8 motion Chef Antoine had demonstrated. The familiar scent of butter and flour transformed into something richer, darker like my mother's gravy, but with possibilities I'd never considered. Stop, Chef Antoine's voice carried across the kitchen. Look at what you've done, Cherie. My spoon froze mid-stroke. The roux had turned the color of copper pennies, deep and complex. Perfect instinct. He bent to examine my work. You've been cooking for others too long. Time to cook for yourself, Non? A laugh bubbled up from somewhere deep inside me. Not the polite chuckle she usually offered when complimented, but something real and bright that echoed off the steel countertops. I met Martha after the class was over. Her voice carried from the next station over. Save some of that joy for tonight's gathering. Their holiday crew, as Martha called their little group, had fallen into an evening ritual at the hotel's courtyard. 4 women who'd chosen solitude over obligation this Christmas, sharing one simple truth each night, something they'd done purely for themselves that day. The French Quarter had wrapped itself around me like a familiar shawl. Shop owners nodded as I passed, calling out greetings. "Morning, Miss Elaine," from the coffee shop owner. "Those earrings suit you," from the antique dealer who'd sold them to me yesterday. My phone buzzed. Jessica's name lit up the screen, along with a voicemail notification. My finger hovered over the delete button, but Chef Antoine's words about instinct echoed in my mind. I pressed play. "It's been awful without you." Jessica's voice cracked. The turkey was so dry. Nobody remembered which presents went to which kids. Mom keeps crying in the bathroom. I didn't know. I never realized how much you actually did. 3 more messages followed. My mother confessing the green bean casserole had burned. My father's gruff attempt at reconciliation. "Your sister just doesn't have your touch, honey." Andrew admitting his boys had fought over dessert, no one knowing how to mediate like I always did. A text from grandmother made her smile. "They're learning what you actually did all these years. About time." At another class the next day, the copper-colored roux bubbled, demanding attention. I added the trinity of vegetables, the sharp knife fork I'd learned in yesterday's class, making quick work of the onions, celery, and bell peppers. No tears this time, another small victory. Later that evening at my room, when my phone displayed grandmother's familiar contact photo, I answered on the first ring. "You sound different," grandmother said instead of hello. "I am different." "Good, now tell me what you need to say." The words came easier than I expected. It wasn't about the party. They could have asked me, talked to me. Instead, they just took. Like always. "They took you for granted because you let them, sweetheart." Grandmother's voice held no judgment, only understanding. Sometimes love needs teeth. I touched the brooch, pinned to her blouse, grandmother's Christmas gift. "I'm not ready to talk to them yet." "Then don't." And she hung up. My phone chimed with a group message. Jessica again. "We're booking flights to New Orleans. All of us. We'll make it right." My fingers moved across the screen, typing with a certainty that surprised her. "No. I'll see you when I return as planned." "But we want to make it up to you." Jessica's response came instantly. "This time is mine. Please respect that." The silence that followed felt like victory. Walking past a shop window later that night, I caught my reflection and stopped. The woman looking back stood straighter, her shoulders relaxed instead of braced for everyone else's burdens. The red scarf she'd bought her first day here blazed against her white blouse, grandmother's brooch catching the afternoon light. "You've changed." The street artist who'd sketched her last week nodded toward his easel. "Look." 2 sketches sat side by side. The first showed a woman wound tight as a spring, smile careful, eyes searching for approval. The second, today's, captured something else. Something free. "I'll take them both," I said, reaching for my wallet. That evening, curled in the hotel's wrought iron chair, I opened her laptop. The confirmation for her Easter flight to Santa Fe next year appeared in her inbox, another family gathering she'd always organized. Not again. My journal lay open beside me, pages filled with clear, firm boundaries. Another dinner with Martha, who lived closer than she'd realized. A cooking class she might host not out of obligation, but joy. Ground rules for future family events. I wrote in careful letters. Gifts freely given, not taken for granted. 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed with my return flight confirmation. 2 days until I faced my old life with my new boundaries. Martha's words from dinner echoed in her mind. "Remember, you're the one who sets the price of admission to your life now." I rearranged my suitcase, suddenly aware of how different its contents were: bright colors instead of neutral peacekeeping clothes, cookbooks bought for pleasure instead of service, the twin sketches carefully wrapped in tissue paper. As I zipped it shut, a question surfaced. Would I even fit back into the life I'd left behind? The answer, I realized, didn't matter. That life would have to expand to fit my now. The morning sun filtered through wrought iron as I stood on my final New Orleans balcony, watching the city wake. My journal lay open beside a half-empty coffee cup, its pages filled with 8 years of revelation, 8 years of carrying everyone's expectations, 8 years of making myself smaller to make room for their comfort. Martha's number glowed in my contacts under a real family, while grandmother's brooch caught the light from where I'd pinned it to my new red scarf. The metal felt warm against my collarbone, a constant reminder of her message. Freedom looks good on you. I thanked her and called the cab. It was time to go home. The driver arrived 10 minutes later and helped put my baggage into the trunk. Going home, ma'am. The driver glanced at me in the rearview mirror as we pulled away from the French Quarter. I met his eyes, surprised by the steadiness in my own reflection. Something like that. During the flight, I fell asleep, and when the stewardess's voice gently woke me up, we were ready to land. I collected my luggage, arranged the Uber, and headed back home. My house stood exactly as I'd left it when I returned to museum of the moment everything changed. Half-hung garland draped the banister. The dining room table remained set for 8, fine china gathering dust, platters of spoiled food marking time like a clock stopped at the moment of impact. 3 gift baskets crowded my front porch, their cellophane wrapping rustling in the winter wind. Apology offerings wrapped in plastic and ribbon. I left them where they sat. They came by every day looking for you. Mrs. Chen next door watered her winter pansies, her voice carefully neutral. Your mother cried on Tuesday. I nodded, fitting my key into the lock. The door closed behind me with a satisfying click, sealing me inside my quiet space. I had exactly 47 minutes to shower and change before they arrived. Mother's text had warned me they were coming, whether I wanted them or not. They showed up 10 minutes early. Mother clutched her famous reconciliation casserole, one she always made after major family fights, layers of pasta and cheese designed to smother hurt feelings under comfort food. Jessica's eyes were red and swollen, though I noticed her mascara remained perfectly applied. Andrew stood slightly behind them, hands shoved in his pockets, while Dad lingered by the car, as if unsure of his welcome. I opened the door wider. Come in. The words came out calmer than I expected. But I won't be serving anything. Mother's steps faltered at the dining room threshold. The abandoned holiday table stood as silent witness, each empty chair an accusation. Jessica's hand flew to her mouth. We were so worried. Jessica's voice wavered with practiced precision. Nobody knew where you'd gone. You weren't answering your phone, Andrew thought. We thought. I had some kind of breakdown? I pulled my journal from my bag, its pages dog-eared and marked with colored tabs. That's what you all assumed, wasn't it? That steady, reliable Elaine had finally cracked under the pressure none of you noticed she was carrying. Andrew cleared his throat. Look, sis, we understand you're upset, but disappearing like that, it wasn't healthy. We should talk about getting you some help. Everyone miscommunicates sometimes. Dad finally stepped inside, his shoes squeaking against the hardwood. We could have handled things better, but 8 years. I opened the journal, my finger finding the first marked page. 8 years of coordinating everyone's schedules. 8 years of remembering Andrew's boys can't have walnuts, that Jessica needs gluten-free options, that Dad's blood pressure means watching the salt. I flipped to another tab. 8 years of storing decorations, updating recipes, buying backup presents, just in case someone brought an unexpected guest. My voice remained steady as I read each notation. Years of unspoken resentment distilled into neat lists of bullet points and dates. The room grew heavier with each turned page. I don't need an apology. I closed the journal, meeting each of their eyes in turn. I need change. Mother set her casserole on the coffee table, her hands twisting her wedding ring. Sweetheart, we never meant. I'll host when I choose to, not by default. The words came easily now, rehearsed in front of my New Orleans hotel mirror. Assumptions are no longer acceptable. I give what I receive. My time and effort are valuable, treat them that way. I touched grandmother's brooch, drawing strength from its familiar weight. I love you, but I love myself too. The silence stretched until Jessica's perfect mascara finally smeared with real tears. I wanted to be like you, she whispered. Not replace you. You make everything look so easy, so perfect. I thought if I could do Christmas like you did. You figured out pretty quick it wasn't that simple, didn't you? The question held no bitterness, only curiosity. The turkey was raw in the middle. Jessica sank onto my couch. Nobody could find the right presents because you usually label everything. Half the decorations didn't make sense because you know where all the special pieces go. She looked up, makeup streaking her cheeks. How do you do it every year? She shouldn't have to. Suddenly, the voice came from my front door, where grandmother stood framed in winter sunlight. My support. The only support all this time. She winked at me, her own ancient brooch glinting at her collar. Elaine hosted for 8 years. I think the rest of you can manage the next 8. Mother's hand flew to her throat. Dad's shoes stopped squeaking. Andrew's posture shifted from concerned older brother to chastised grandson in the space of a heartbeat. I'll take next Christmas. Jessica straightened, wiping her eyes. With Elaine as my guest of honor, I'll even label the presents properly this time. We didn't know how much work it was until it fell apart. Mother's voice cracked. She reached for the casserole, then stopped herself. None of us knew. We just assumed. That's the problem, isn't it? Grandmother settled into my favorite armchair, her eyes sharp as she surveyed her gathered children and grandchildren. All that assuming. All that taking. Never thought to look at what you were using up, did you? The family that had celebrated without me now couldn't imagine celebrating without appreciating me. I touched my grandmother's brooch again, feeling its warmth spread through my fingers. The next gathering would be different. They would be different. Or they wouldn't be gathering at all. I set my boundaries, they respected them, slowly adjusting to my new conditions. Things were much better after a year. A year later, the smell of roasting turkey wafts through Elaine's kitchen. But for once, she isn't the one checking the oven. Her mother and Jessica work in tandem at the counter, their matching aprons spotted with cranberry sauce. Through the doorway, Andrew's voice rings out from the living room, where he leads his kids in a rousing game of charades instead of watching football on the couch. Elaine lifts her wine glass and catches her reflection in the window. The woman staring back wears grandmother's brooch on a jewel-toned blusino, more hiding in beige and gray. A year ago, she sat alone in this same spot, scrolling through Betrayal on her phone. Now her father walks past carrying a tray of glasses, his sleeves rolled up, actually serving instead of being served. Don't even think about helping, she imagines Martha calls from her perch at the kitchen island. Her presence feels right here, even though she's not, like she's always belonged. You've done enough hosting for one lifetime. Jessica looks up from the sweet potatoes, her hands coated in brown sugar and butter. I still can't believe how you spice these. The recipe you brought back from that New Orleans cooking class changed everything. Speaking of New Orleans, their mother pauses in her gravy stirring. I was hoping you might teach me those beignets you learned. The ones you made last month were better than mine ever turned out. Elaine takes a slow sip of wine, savoring the request. A year ago, her mother would have bristled at any suggestion that someone else's cooking could surpass her own. I'd love to show you. Maybe next month? The front door chimes and her father's voice carries through the house. Ruth's here. Grandmother sweeps in, elegant as always in her winter white wool coat. Her eyes find Elaine immediately, approval warming her face. Now this is how Christmas should look, she says, taking in the scene. Everyone pulling their weight for once. Andrew emerges from the living room, his youngest perched on his shoulders. Toast time. He raises his glass. To Elaine, who taught us how to appreciate each other even if we needed a wake-up call to learn the lesson. Heat pricks behind Elaine's eyes. She watches her family gather, really seeing them. Jessica, who once competed for attention, now asks real questions about Elaine's experiences. Their mother, who taught her that women should give until empty, whispers close to her ear during dessert. I raised you to give too much. I'm sorry. The walls of her home hold different memories now. Not just of her carrying every burden, but of shared laughter, genuine connection, and the sweet relief of being seen. Elaine slips onto her front porch during coffee, pulling her phone from her pocket. The winter air nips at her cheeks as she types a quick message to Martha. They finally understand the price of admission. Through the window, she watches her family clear dishes without being asked. The sound of their laughter floats out, mingled with the clink of plates and the soft music from her carefully curated playlist. Love with Boundaries feels different, steadier, cleaner, more real. Back inside, the conversation flows around summer plans. Paris? Jessica leans forward, genuinely interested. Solo again, or want company this time? Solo, Elaine answers, no apology in her voice. But I might need a companion for the cooking class I'm taking in Provence after. You'll have to teach us everything you learn, their mother says, and Elaine hears the shift in her voice note demand. But request. Not expectation, but invitation. Grandmother's knowing smile gleams across the table. She's watched this transformation with the patience of someone who walked a similar path decades ago. Her fingers brush the edge of the family recipe book they'd gifted, her every contribution properly credited, every story honestly told. The Christmas tree lights catch grandmother's brooch as Elaine pins it to her dress. Tiny stars of light dance across the ceiling, so different from last year's half-decorated tree and cold, abandoned feast. Grandmother takes her hand, her grip still strong despite her years. "Freedom looks good on you," she murmurs, and Elaine squeezes back. A year ago, she sat alone in New Orleans, learning to choose herself. Tonight, she stands surrounded by family, who finally understand that love isn't measured in sacrifice. The greatest gift wasn't the one she gave herself last Christmas when she walked away. It was the permission to keep choosing herself, every day since. Looking around her full living room, Elaine knows the truth. She isn't the same woman who fled last Christmas Eve, and she never will be again. But more importantly, neither is her family. They've all learned that the price of admission to someone's life isn't paid in demands or expectations, but in respect, reciprocity, and the courage to change.